Hi everyone, welcome to day 18 of our journey through the Celtic Saints, and today is one of the great heroes of the Celtic tradition, Saint Columba of Iona, otherwise known as Commercile in Ireland. And Columba started out as possibly the heir to the throne of the Irish kingship, but became a Christian monk instead and trained under a gentleman called Finian, who's another one of the saints we've looked at. And at first, Columba became a person of letters and of writing. He translated a number of books, about 200 or 300 of them, including a copy of the Book of Psalms, which was Finian's own copy. And unfortunately, a dispute took place between the two, and it got rather personal. And eventually, Columba left Ireland and set sail for what turned out in the end to be Iona, and where he founded a monastery. Probably one of the most famous of all the Celtic churches and monasteries, and rightly so, because it's from this base on the very edge of the west coast of Scotland that Celtic Christianity spread throughout the whole of Scotland, but also into the northern part of England. It's from there that a gentleman called Aidan, a few years later, would take the gospel to Lindisfarne, and from Lindisfarne throughout the whole of northern Britain. And Columba himself travelled north into Scotland to Inverness and to meet the kings of the Picts, and there he shared the Christian gospel with them, and they became Christian too. So Columba is both a person of learning, he's also a person of missionary work, but perhaps his most famous contribution is because he was a person of deep prayer. He's created an amazing monastery, a number of monasteries. You'd think that would be what he needed and what he had sought in his life to do. But then he would retreat into a small hut in the middle of the island, and a stone little encampment around it, very simply on his own, and spend not just moments or even an hour in prayer. He would spend days, weeks in prayer, overlooking one of the beautiful bays of Iona. And there it was said that, like Moses himself, the hut would glow with the visitation of the angels and of the Holy Spirit, and Columba would be caught up in this powerful experience of prayer. So what can we learn from all this? Well, we can learn that prayer is not then just something that is an add-on. It's actually something that's at the very core. It's the engine room of a Christian's life, and it's something where we need somewhere where we need to go and to be, not just physically but inside ourselves. And that place of meeting is a beautiful place, but it's not necessarily just serene and placid. In terms of quietness, it can be very active, full of energy, full of life, full of dance, full of energy. And that's captured for me a little bit by a band that existed at the time of the 1980s and 1990s called Iona. I'll ask Kirsty to post one of their songs called Inside the Heart, and it sort of tries to capture both the Celtic and Scottish tradition of Gaelic music, and then fuse that with modern worship and electric guitars. But whether you like it or not, the idea is try and capture the energy and the life of your prayer life. One of the great things that it quotes in this book about linking Columba's life with the scriptures is it says of Jesus that he went up a mountain on many occasions to pray. Do we think he just sort of sat there quietly in stillness? But maybe inside his mind and inside his heart, certainly there was this dance that was taking place between him and his Father in the power of the Spirit. And I see that, like Moses, like Columba, as being full of life and full of energy, and indeed what gives us life. And so may it be for us. One of the great stories about Iona is that it didn't end just with Columba. After being taken over by the Vikings, it fell into obscurity a little bit, although it was the burial place of virtually all of the Scottish kings. But then in the 1930s it was rebuilt, but with a gentleman called George MacLeod, and he took some builders and some theology students, and they came together to rebuild the abbey as it used to be, and it's now one of the great centres of Celtic Christianity, known as the Iona community. You may have heard of it. They have a key speaker called John Bell, and a friend of mine called Philip Newell, who writes a lot of their spiritual material. And it's amazing how it has continued this tradition of prayer, of sharing the gospel in many different ways, of culture and bridging cultures rather than dividing cultures, and of celebrating the goodness and the beauty of the world, and so bringing social change. Wonderful community, and all being well, some of us will be going there next year. So have a good rest of the day, and may your prayer life be full of light this day. Bye for now.